One of the biggest changes we have to make to be good leaders in our conversation is to shift from being the person who is in charge of everything and knows everything and tells everybody what to do to appreciating the team. And that means a shift in conversation from telling to coaching.
Mm.
And this shift was really demonstrated dramatically to us in Crest when we had author Bob Hancock's come and talk to us about coaching. And then after he had met with us a little bit later, he wrote a book called Coaching for Engagement. And folks, that is one of the best books on coaching that's out there. It's practical, it's not terribly long, but it's got enough good stuff in there that you can actually shift the way you talk to be this much more effective leader when you talk about becoming a coach of people.
Mm.
So he's been a professional coach all his life, and he is what's called a master coach, one of the best across Canada. And I actually did have an experience of being coached by him, and I was stunned at how well he did this. He is very good. So with confidence, I recommend this book to you. He says a number of things. There's 5 things in the coach acronym that we need to be aware of. And that is curious questioning, open listening, appreciative discovery, catalytic feedback, resulting in heightened engagement. So let's go through each one and see what they mean. So the first one is curious questioning. And this is the art of asking honest questions without kind of hinting the response that you want from people. The goal is to be genuinely curious, to find out what people actually think,
Mm.
not telling them what to think, but inviting them to express what they think. And the key to this is good questions.
Mm.
If you ask the right kind of question, you get a much better response. So we've actually put in the curriculum here a number of good questions that can help you, because there's a big difference between a poor question and a really good question. And
Mm.
in your curriculum on page 25 there, typically we will ask poor questions like, did you have a good week? And the answer can be yes or no. That's what would be a poor question. A good question is more open-ended, which doesn't just get a simple yes or no kind of answer. It might be, what was the highlight of this past week for you?
Mm.
Now they have to tell you a story. They can't just say yes or no. It's a way better question.
Yeah, and the thing I like about this too, Dan, is the idea of putting curious in front of it. And so there are good questions that we need to be aware of, but the the being curious will almost adds like a spontaneous feel to it. Then that
Yes.
you need to have some good questions in mind, but then at the same time be ready to be spontaneous because you are genuinely
Yeah.
curious. And people pick up on that too, I think.
Oh, they sure do. And if you're genuinely curious without an intent of where you're going with something, when you ask the first question, that will then the conversation will result in, okay, what's the next question then?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you don't know where it's going to go. And that's the beauty of this kind of conversation, is that you can truly explore with another person what they're thinking. And asking the right questions, man, that's the way to do it. So we've given you some good question starters there in the curriculum. Now we want to come to the next one, which is open listening. Now, this means you're giving full attention to the person you're talking with. You're observing them with your eyes, your ears, your heart, and you're giving them undivided attention. Now, this is really important in order for them to be honestly answering your curious question. You've got to be honestly listening. And here's the biggest problem we have with listening, is that While we're listening, we are formulating in our mind what our next question is going to be. And they can tell you're not totally listening, that you're thinking about something else. And then when you talk too much and you keep interrupting people, well, that's not a good way of listening. In fact, there's a really good acronym in there called WAIT. WAIT stands for Why Am I Talking? That's a really good one. We need to be comfortable to let people talk, and we fully listen to them and don't interrupt them. Then we come to the appreciative discovery. That's the third one here. And that is being positive and respectful of what they're saying and what they're entrusting to you, especially if what they're saying is a little awkward for you or maybe even painful. But it's appreciating them. And it's also pointing out to them a strength that you see or a positive element that you notice in them. And you're giving them appreciative discovery. You're acknowledging that this person has something of value to offer. You thank them for what they're saying. You point out good things that you notice in their life. So again, appreciative discovery is a very good way that people will begin to feel more safe with you when they hear you telling them what you appreciate and what you're noticing and what's really helpful.
Yeah, I think back Dan to our talk about the ideal team player. And the two of the virtues is being humble and being hungry. And I just see both of those kind of playing into this here. The
Very good.
appreciative is being humble and saying, wow, you're really thinking through this. And the discovery is the hunger. Yeah, we're learning together. And so this brings in both those virtues when you do this properly.
Yeah. So it's really cool to see how these different resources that we've discovered do overlap. And when resources overlap, you know you're onto something here.
Mm-hmm.
So once we have done that, the question that comes up in people's minds is, well, is there ever a time when you give them feedback or you say something that you're noticing that maybe they haven't said? And that is the next one, called catalytic feedback. And you'll notice that it's way down the line. You must be doing the curious questioning, the open listening, the appreciative discovery. Do that well before you give any kind of catalytic feedback. We only offer this after we have really listened, and this can actually be very, very good for you. It can save your bacon as a leader. Instead of telling them something in feedback, you just elicit them to say it. And here's what I found, John, is that when I'm talking to people and I ask them, for example, to say, okay, the past event that we just had, what's your assessment of it? What did you think went well? What do you think could be improved? And I let them tell me what they thought needed to be improving instead of me saying, you know what, you did pretty good on this, but. And so often we think we have to give the feedback, in order to make them learn. But actually, most people already know it.
Yeah, and the other thing that this allows, what you're talking about, is for God to actually speak to them and give His feedback through them, right? Where they discover, they find it out for themselves as God is speaking to them about these things, and He will.
Yeah.
And when we allow them to give their own feedback, we're actually trusting them and God to have this revelation themselves rather than us always trying to be the revelation.
Yeah. In fact, I remember I was coaching a person in my church that was needing to work with a difficult person and needing to bring some correction to them. And I said, you know what? Ask that person what they think could be improved and what should be changed. And that person ended up eventually telling them everything that was on the list that needed to be talked about.
Yeah.
But it sure feels different for a person to volunteer, I think I would like to try and change this and do better, than being told you need to change this and do better.
Yeah, that's good.
Wow. Really helpful.
There's trust involved in all that, isn't there?
Yeah, there really is.
You have to trust that the person will have this discovery themselves. They don't always need us to tell them
Yeah.
what's going on. They can figure that out.
Yeah. If we do those features well, the last one, number 5, heightened engagement, will come out. By heightened engagement, we mean people do their best. They become their best. They offer their best. They mobilize their excitement, and they're intentional in wanting to deal with these things. And here again, instead of telling them what they need to do in the next steps, you ask them, what do you think are the next most important steps that you need to take? And you let them volunteer it. But then you agree together, that's a great idea. What's that? Appreciative discovery. You did a really good observation. That's appreciative discovery back to them again. That's affirming them. And then you agree, okay, by the time we meet next time, we'll check and see how you did on these things. So there's engagement, there's accountability, but it's done in a positive way that the person helped put together with you, rather than you meeting with them and telling them all the things they got to do.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah.
Isn't that a different field, John, on leadership?
Yeah. And that really fits well into what we feel coaching is, right? It's not dictating. Coaching is helping to bring the best out of a person. And the best way for that to happen is they have this revelation themselves.
Yeah. But sometimes people need a conversation to get that.
Yeah.
So this is where the coaching conversation is really a catalytic experience for a person to get clarity about themselves, about what they're supposed to be doing, and making a plan. And they come away feeling like, yes, my leader is with me. My leader understands me. She listened to me. I've got an action plan that I think I can actually do. And you feel empowered.
Yeah.
So this kind of conversation is so different than what we have often grown up with, that you're not just going to get this like that. So we want to encourage you, buy the book, read it, practice it. It can make a huge difference in your leadership.
Yeah. No, in the whole theme of empowering people, coaching is just an awesome way to do that. And we highly recommend it.